Hello, I'm Mark Clarkson. I produced a submission to the New South Wales Resources Regulator in response to their request for public consultation on diesel particulate matter exposure standard for New South Wales mines. Several of the people who've read my submission have asked me to explain in very simple terms what the problem is and what the solution is that I propose. And by the way, that's me there, yes, laying down. I don't often play dead, but I was laying down there for the annual rescue competition in 2009. I think Oki actually won it that year. Moving on, that's what my submission looks like. You'll find it on ResearchGate, and under the posting on YouTube of this video and on the credits page, which we'll come to, I've put the DOI and also the link to ResearchGate where you can find my missive. It is expressed in somewhat academic terms, and I understand completely that people don't understand it immediately and want a clear, precise message. That's a load haul dump machine, shortened to LHD. What does it do? Well, it loads ore, it hauls it to where it's got to go and dumps it. That's why it's called a load haul dump. And yes, at one end it's got a bucket, and at the other end it's got one big ass diesel. Now, diesel, you ask. This is the ute. This is also a diesel, but it's not a big ass LHD. It's just a 2.4 litre diesel. Comes out, all the diesel exhaust comes out this little pipe at the bottom. It's a Tier 4 engine. It's a 1984 Hilux. Isn't it delightful? It's a lovely ute. But it produces black sooty diesel exhaust with diesel particulate matter. Now, unlike the newer Tier 1 engines, the body can actually deal with the soot, blacky stuff from old utes like that one. The body can't deal with microfine diesel particulate matter, often abbreviated as small n, large DPM, nano diesel particulate matter. It goes straight through the bloodstream, and everybody who has exposure to nano diesel particulate matter or microfine diesel particulate matter will have an adverse health effect. Now, for the purposes of this exercise, I want you all to imagine that you're a mine ventilation engineer. Now, you have to have a fairly good imagination because neither the Australasian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, known as the AusIMM, or Engineers Australia, or indeed the Board of Professional Engineers Queensland, the BPEQ, Queensland being the only state where engineers have to be registered and have to have a defined competency, none of the above recognised ventilation engineering as a separate discipline. And ventilation engineers are really, they come under mining engineer or sometimes resource or process engineers, but it's certainly not a recognised competency. But for the purpose of the exercise, we're going to imagine it is a recognised competency, and you're a highly skilled, highly trained mine ventilation engineer. Now, your children, you're married with children. This is also for the purpose of the exercise, you have to imagine this. And your children ask you, Daddy, what is it you actually do? And you tell them that you're a mine ventilation engineer, but that doesn't really mean much to them. So they say, well, what does a mine ventilation engineer do? So to describe this and bring it down to them in terms they can understand and to model it, you've decided to set up this garage vent circuit. Now, in this garage vent circuit, you've put the ute, because you don't have a big ass LHD to put in your garage. And this here is the window above your workbench. That's you sitting at your workbench. You've put the tilt door for the garage, the main garage door, up so that air can come in. and this here is the door to the house, which you've closed, and you consider it to be a ventilation control device. So you've kept it shut so that all the diesel doesn't go into the house. And in this door here, which goes to the garden, you've inserted a fan, but rather leave the fan alone so that air can be sucked from the garden back through the fan, a sort of reverse circulation. You've made a frame of 4x2s in that doorway, and with cardboard and masking tape and the like, you've actually inserted the fan in that framework so that when the fan is switched on, it can only suck air from within the garage and will exhaust it out into the garden. And that's your garage vent circuit. Then you turn on the ute and it goes put, 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 put in idle. And you explain to your children who are sitting with you at your desk that this is how it works in mining. The diesel equipment, and some mines have a very large fleet of diesel-powered plant machinery, equipment and vehicles. And you explain that you don't have a big-ass LHD to put in your garage, so you just have to make do with the ute. And the ute's puttering away, putting out diesel particulate matter and the black sooty stuff, while the fan there is labouring away, sucking air in from the window, sucking air in from the door in the two locations, and that all wafts past the diesel particulate matter and the exhaust fumes and sucks them all out and puts it into the garden. Now, your children are impressed by this, but they do tell you that they can smell diesel, and the garage reasonably quickly fills up with diesel, and the poor old fan there is labouring away to try and exhaust it all. And just when you're coming to grips with the limitations of your garage vent circuit, your wife comes in, and she comes in through this door and leaves it open. And you forgive her because she doesn't realise that it's a ventilation control device. So you go over and quietly shut it behind her to preserve the integrity of the garage vent circuit. And she says to you, very politely, "What the bloody hell are you doing?" And you explain that this is a garage vent circuit and the diesel particulate matter and the exhaust fumes are being sucked out through this, and you're demonstrating to your children how a basic vent circuit in a mine works. And she says to you, "So this is designed basically to get rid of all the diesel fumes?" And you say, "Yes, dear." And she says to you, "Oh," she says, "I have a better solution to all this." And intrigued, you ask her, "Well, what's your solution?" And she walks over to your ute, she reaches in, turns off the ignition, pulls out the keys, tosses the keys to you and says, "Simple, turn the bloody diesel off." Now, it's very hard for you to be cross with your wife because you realise that deep down that she does actually have a point. Now, as they say, listen to the wife. In simple terms, the point she has, which is a very good point, is the point I'm trying to make in this video. And the point that I'm trying to make to the New South Wales government in the submission I made to the New South Wales Resources Regulator. And the message is quite simple. It is, in underground mines, turn the bloody diesel off. Simple message. This is the credits page. Down the bottom, you'll see there the link to the LinkedIn Clarkson Submission and the DOI. But don't worry, I've put it below where this video is posted on YouTube, and you'll be able to get it from there. And you can labour through the quite extensive submission I've otherwise made. So that's my little video. Thank you for watching. You all have a good day, as they say.